What's up, guys? Episode 3 of Shooters. It's been a while, I know. That was my bad, I guess. I mean, just to give you a backstory of kind of what's all been going down, things have been incredibly busy for me, and I've been having a hard time trying to figure out what I'm going to have recorded in a podcast or in a YouTube video. And because I'm doing the video podcast now, I don't know, like it's just kind of like internally debated myself in my head. I don't even know if that made sense, but anyway, I'm back. I'm doing the podcast, fresh off of a like 10-11 hour shoot yesterday, which was all street, solely street. And in case you guys haven't seen on my Instagram, I teased a trailer for a street photography vlog I'm actually going to start uploading, hopefully on a regular basis. It all depends on, how reliable my GoPros can be. And anyone who's ever owned a GoPro knows that that's like, I don't know, maybe like 50% of the time. No, I'm kidding. Probably more than that. But my problem is basically here's how it's going to go down, or how it has been going down. I've been strapping a GoPro to myself for better part of the last year, maybe even longer. So I have a ton of footage, and I'm just running it, right? So that I can capture like first person view of street photography, and then I'm going to overlay the shots I took on top of the footage there. Obviously I'm going to speed it up because like I go out like 3, 4, 5 hours in a row. And yeah, that's probably where the technical difficulties come into play. It's having that thing constantly record. It gets really hot, and it's tiny, and that's amazing, and I love that. But the batteries are also really tiny, so they tend to last only a part of the time. Yeah. Anyway, so basically edit all that together and then show you guys, like take you guys with me virtually on street photography shoots. And so yeah, it'll be fun, I hope. And so forgive me if my voice is slightly coarse today. It's not just the mic, it's me. A really long day and hanging out with people, and our lockdown here in Toronto and Ontario is now over. We're fresh out of that, so hopefully it stays this way. The weather's fantastic. Yeah, in Canada we get good weather still. Don't worry. We're okay up here. But still check up on us. Come January, things can change a bit. Yeah. Actually, on that note, first day after the lockdown, or the day the lockdowns were lifted, was also a date that I was asked to host a Photowalk. And it's just with the local, photography collective here in Toronto, and it was really fun. But like, I'm going to transition actually into the topic we're going to talk about now. It's about like kind of getting in the zone and kind of like feeding off of energy that influences you, or just like kind of guides you and what your guides your creativity while you're out shooting, for street or maybe even in a studio. A lot of people ask me, what are your favorite photographers, or what are your biggest influences? And, I definitely have quite the list. But I will say this, some of my biggest influences for at least my street stuff, my street and studio stuff, actually, they're not photographers. They're not even filmmakers. They're nothing visual. They're actually like musicians, artists. And some people get kind of confused at that. They're like, what are you talking about? And I mean, I guess best way to describe it is, it kind of just represents like this, like feel, this mood I have. And it kind of like puts me into a particular creative mood where I'll produce content that like matches that mood, It's been a really dark winter, let's just say. with everything that's going on in the world and our lockdowns and everything, I've still been going out, but like solo and like till late at night, and sometimes with a friend or two if it's allowed. But just that mood, like that, like uncertainty and just like dark mood, kind of influenced what I was shooting over the past few months, which was nighttime. A lot of nighttime stuff. I mean, I always shoot nighttime stuff, but I don't know. Somebody I was talking to earlier this week kind of pointed out. They said, your edits have kind of been a very certain way lately. Even though you're still going out at night and still shooting street and portraits and things like that, but like the mood, it's different. And I'm like, yeah, the pandemic kind of changed my style a little bit in terms of editing, not workflow, but like the actual like content. Color grading is probably the better way to put it. But that said, last week, first day after the restrictions were lifted, I mean, there were still some restrictions, and the turnout was fantastic. There was, I don't know, like 30 or 40 people. And the biggest rule right now is, even if it's an outdoor gathering, the limit is 10. So we had to like split up into groups of 10, which is fine, whatever. It was a little unfortunate because, there's only one of me. And I was supposed to, like give pointers and tutorials and things like that. So I guess whoever was in my group was fortunate in that sense, but I feel like it was lacking a little bit, but it's, out of our control at this point. Anyway, yeah, the mood there was like, I found the shots I took were like very different. It was great seeing everybody, and the mood was like so good, and just like overall amazing vibes. We started off too, like kind of I mean, it was a night theme shoot, but it was probably like an hour before sunset. So I had some daytime shots, and daytime shots are always a bit different for me in the sense that I'm not always like out of my element in the daytime. Like, it depends, but I don't know. I feel like every photographer, at least portrait photographer, if they're doing, outdoor portraits, which I generally don't do. I mean, I do if I'm in the mood or like in the moment, or if I'm like shooting, an event or something. But like for fun, it's usually studio stuff, or I'll have at least a flash or two. As you can tell, I really like, that diffused lighting look. But I really like harsh lighting. I like that shadow that gets cast on things, and I look for the light to be like concentrated somewhere, but nowhere else in the scene. And I guess, I mean, that's kind of what I do at night anyway. I guess it's the only thing you can really do at night. I mean, if you don't have a tripod, and then you can't even take photos of people in that case, right? I actually saw a guy yesterday. I mean, the photos probably turned out great. I mean, hey, power to him, but it was like broad daylight, like 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And dude had a tripod. He was taking portraits, and I'm thinking like, huh? What's going on? I mean, okay. Maybe he's doing one of those really cool, like, it's a portrait, and maybe he's got like a flash and the sync is slightly off, and like it's like blurry but not, and I don't know. I love that sort of thing, but I didn't see a flash, so maybe he was still trying it. I know you can do that if you have, a steady enough hand, and I find a camera with image stabilizing in the sensor, that tends to help. I don't know the science behind that, but it does. Regardless, I don't think that's what he was doing. They look like grad photos, so he was probably just like paid to do that. And you know what? I mean, power to him. But like, pro tip: if you're listening or watching this podcast, you don't need that. Don't lug it around if you don't have to. Trust me. When I started out, yeah, I brought a tripod everywhere. I've always kind of like shot in low light and at night, and I don't know, for some reason I thought like the only way to do it was to bring a tripod. Obviously people weren't really, in the shots. They can't really be if you're doing long enough exposure to require a tripod. But yeah, I mean, you can get some really cool stuff, right? But I don't know. I think it's important to challenge yourself. If you're going to be shooting like that and you always bring a tripod around, you probably know how much of a pain it is to lug it around. And it does restrict you, right? Like you can't go to certain places just with a giant tripod. I mean, I remember road tripping it out to New York City a few years ago, and I brought a tripod. And what camera did I have at the time? It was the Canon 80D, but that's a tiny crop sensor, so like low light. I mean, hey, I think I picked up one of those like the EF 1.8. No, it was a 1.4 50 mil. You know, the older one with the louder motor. But yeah, it was great for that sort of thing. But I lugged the tripod around at like 2 a.m. in like, I think I was in Manhattan, so probably not as bad, but like, you know, I was heading north and I thought it was cool. But at the same time, you know, I had a couple of people stop and say stuff like, what are you doing? Not always the best situation to be in. I know that dude like doesn't fit that category, at least from what I saw at that time of day. But pro tip, guys, like if you're doing that, you know, plan it better, better than me at least. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent here. So yeah, the photo shoot Photowalk last week went well. Shout out to the Toronto Photography Collective. They're doing some really cool stuff, like bringing, you know, creatives together, and I'm glad to have been a part of that. But yeah, I mean, I think we need more of those. Anyway, another cool thing too, like, 'cause I don't go to enough of those, right? Primarily because, I mean, well, it's really hard to put together like a photo set from a walk like that and put it somewhere for everyone to kind of like look at and like learn from and critique. Like I know they have a Facebook group, and I've always been kind of hesitant to do that because when you upload these things to Facebook, be very careful about what your like native resolution is, because like people can just download that in like their full HD quality. Yeah, they're only JPEGs and they're probably compressed still, though. It's happened to me where I've actually seen in one of those groups. I won't say where or when or what, but you know, it happens. And somebody like posted one of my shots that I had posted to the same group actually, and claimed that they took it. And I mean, you work so hard, right, as a photographer, getting all your gear and skills up, and you know, countless hours out practicing. And, you know, you just see that and you're like, oh, why are you doing that? I mean, no hard feelings. The person claimed it was a mistake, so that's okay. Anyway, since then, I kind of just like stuck only to Instagram, and I have a website, right? I did upload my shots that I took, though. I made sure, I think they were like 1200 by something hundred resolution. I saved a smaller copy of them just for that. And so I kind of felt bad afterwards, because when I looked at them finally posted, they weren't the sharpest. And everyone knows I was using like, you know, what did I have? No, I didn't have my 70 to 200 RF. I love this lens, by the way. Super sharp, amazing lens. No, what was I using? I think I was trying to make a point that you can like shoot on anything for street photography. Yeah. Let me grab that. Yeah. My chair squeaks. Anyway, yeah, I had the 50 mil RF. It's a relatively new lens. I mean, I picked this up in like, what was it? February? March? It's new. Like I had to kind of like back order it though. But it's the new Nifty 50 for the RF. And actually on that note, I mean, I've got it on my trusty RP. Like this thing is awesome. Yeah, I know, like I had a screen protector on here and it's already shattered and the power button came off. Like this will just power through anything though. Like I've taken this thing through hell and back. I'll probably do a shutter count video sometime if I get that up and running. Don't let all that like, you know, physical what do they call it? Cosmetic imperfections on this thing. Don't let that fool you. Like I've taken this in the pouring rain and it's not weather sealed, and I mean, it still shoots perfectly. It's a great camera. I mean, honestly, for the price, you can buy, I mean, I still see like crop sensor DSLRs, not a mirrorless and not full frame, for the price that you can pick up one of those for. So if you're doing mainly photography, dude, yeah, the RP, fantastic camera for the price. And I highly recommend the 50mm lens. Now, I'm one of those guys that kind of throws away the manual. Well, I mean, do lenses even come with manuals anymore? I have the box for this somewhere. No, I don't even know. Goes to show, right? But okay, I'm assuming that the ring around this, right, is the typical RF programmable ring, which I have yet to program on any of my stuff. I haven't found the need yet, but I'd imagine that's incredibly useful. But it doesn't have a focusing ring, but it has a focusing switch. Well, it says focus control, and then it just says, oh no, one says focus and one says control. So maybe that can switch between the programmable and the anyway. I'm on a crazy tangent right now. Goes to show, right? Like gear, as long as you're comfortable just like using it and shooting with it and like your camera, like it doesn't matter what lens or whatever you stick on it, as long as you just get out there and use it. It's like the gear version of none, or sorry, done is better than none. And actually on that note, done is better than none is not something I've been following lately. Maybe to my detriment, I don't know. I actually deleted some even Instagram posts that I just wasn't quite happy with. I've since, well, I mean, 2020 and 2021 have kind of been the years that like all the equipment I have, or at least the computer stuff that I have, decided to like crap out on me. And in case you guys don't know, some stuff is like really hard to get right now. So, I mean, I'm recording this right now on my desktop, which I had to rebuild because my previous graphics card decided to basically bite the dust. I think what happened was at some point, like I was cleaning inside or whatever, the fan kind of like, okay, turn off your computer if you go open it up. All right. I know that's probably common sense for like everyone out there, but I guess I'm an idiot. So anyway, the fan kind of broke one of the fins, and it was just like kind of rattling around in there, and that probably killed it. Yeah, and yeah, in case you guys don't know, it's really hard to get graphics cards right now. I'm really lucky in the sense that like I figured out how to grab one, but it took me like 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And I think that's on the quick end of things. There's some people I talked to online that said that they were waiting for like a month or two or like half a year. Granted, they were waiting for a very specific card that they wanted. I wasn't as picky. I just needed something that would be good for, Premiere Pro. That's kind of it. Obviously photo editing too, but I mean, anything will edit photos these days, so I'm okay with that. But yeah, some people like really wanted specific cards, and I really hope they all got them because, I mean, yeah, things are crazy out there. It took, okay, so my cell phone decided to stop working on the touchscreen on the top half of my screen. Now it's like a 2.5, 3-year-old phone, I think by this point, something like that. Sounds about right. It was the S10 Plus. Which I love the phone, but if you can't use the top of the screen, that's a problem. And I'm on Instagram a lot, right? And I'm trying to like tap on like add story at the top right, and you can't move that button anywhere else on the screen. So it's like I'm like smacking the phone, and people are kind of like looking at me weird. And yeah, so that kind of started going. The screen still works in terms of a display, and the bottom part works. So I'll probably just use it as like it's got the ultra wide lens on it, one of them. I think it has like 3 cameras on the back and 2 on the front. It's very useful for that sort of thing. So I'm going to use it as like a dedicated, like, I don't know, maybe a live stream phone or whatever. But yeah, as an everyday use phone, I've retired it. But that said, I had to wait a long time to retire it. So, I logged into my carrier's account, and they're like, oh, yeah, so you're due for an upgrade. We'll give you a good deal, whatever. I said, okay, fine. It's actually kind of cool what they're doing now. And I hope this helps with the e-waste problem, but we'll see. After 2 years, I have an option of giving it back to them for a discount. And I thought, like, well, yeah, like, I mean, tech after 2 years, especially cell phones, they can be, like, immeasurably outdated. I mean, I'm finding nowadays that the incremental, like, I don't know, productivity and speeds increases on these things are getting smaller every year. Like, how much better can it get? Lately, they've definitely been getting better, especially in the camera realm, and obviously that's very relevant for me, so I am more inclined to upgrade. But from a performance standpoint, it's like I'd be cool with having it for like a few more years, but yeah, after 2 years, it's like, cool, yeah, if you give me another deal in 2 years, I'll give it back and we'll do the same thing. I'm totally okay with that. I digress. Anyway, I'm going on a tangent, but these Photowalks, so yeah, I wanted to discuss them actually. I think they can be really beneficial for photographers, especially, or just anyone learning. I don't know why I said photographers especially. They're generally only for photographers. It's great. You get to meet people. Let me know if they have something like that for filmmakers. I don't think they do. It doesn't make sense in my head, but I might have just like come up with like the coolest concept ever and dismissed it, but whatever. So they're really good in the sense that, like, okay, their biggest flaw is their biggest benefit. Okay, so biggest flaw would be everyone shoots the same thing. You're all in the same place at the same time doing the same thing, which is taking photos. Inevitably, you're going to point the camera in the same direction that somebody else did or is currently pointing it at. And I've seen it. You've seen it, I'm sure. And there's nothing necessarily wrong with that. It's just, anyone who knows me personally knows that when it comes to creative shots, or photography in general, like I value immensely the ability to kind of come up with your own subject matter that hasn't really been done before, or just do it in a way that like most haven't shot. And I know that's like, everyone always says that, right? It's like, Andreas, what are you talking about? Like, that's the whole point of being creative, right? Is to come up with stuff. But I say that, but yet I still see, all the trending stuff on social media. And I was actually talking about that with some friends last night that are YouTubers. It's like the stuff that trends, some of it is amazing. And like, if you look at my Instagram, like on my app, I have some saved. I know only I can see it, but I can quickly show you. But I love it for keeping track of friends, obviously. I mean, that's at the end of the day, that's what social media is all about. But also just like kind of seeing what everyone's up to. And yeah, I don't know, why is Instagram not... Huh? Oh, because I added, Okay, so I have to go under all this. Anyway, they changed it up a bit on me because I added Reels, which I hadn't had before, so my menu kind of shifted over. Anyway, whatever. I digress. I can complain about that after. Yeah, so the stuff that trends is like, I call them postcard shots, We live in Toronto, and... If I had $1 for every time I saw a sunset or sunrise shot involving the CN Tower or the skyline, I'd be rich. And they do well, and they look really cool. Like, it's like people spend millions of dollars on like condos so that they can get that view. So I'm not knocking it entirely. It's just, is that really creative? Right? I don't know if people call it creative. So that's another thing too. Like, if you shoot that kind of stuff and you don't like say that that's like creative work, I mean it is, but you don't like kind of tout that, then fine. But if you're starting out, it doesn't matter. You'll learn what captures your attention and what you want to shoot and what you don't. And so when you start off with this stuff like that, that's like blatantly obvious, right? Like it's like, oh man, the skyline, I gotta take a long exposure, whatever. That's fine, because you'll figure out after a while that like there's only so many spots you can go to shoot that. That happened to me, right? Like when I started, I did all that, and I realized like, oh, I've gone every time of day to shoot that from like different angles, and this is like, now what? It's really healthy to go through that stage and to say, now what? That now what? Like if you get to that point where you say to yourself organically, now what? You're on the right track, and like your shots are going to go like next level. So I'm not knocking it completely, but I feel like when that gets promoted like insanely high on social media, like in photography circles, I feel like people who should have already got to that now what stage might not have, right? Because they'll see this and be like, oh my god, like yeah, let's go shoot more of this, or let's go to that same spot. I've got a whole list. Like actually, on the note of lists, I have a list somewhere on my computer from like years ago that I stumbled across, and it's like my shooting locations. And I remember I would go to them multiple times, right, until the now what phase. But yeah, I remember kind of bumping into a couple that was kind of they were drinking tiny little bottles of champagne at Nathan Phillips Square at night, and this was like months ago during the lockdown. And I asked them, I said like, hey, what's going on? We ended up chatting for a bit. Like, what's the occasion? And they're like, oh, well, I mean, the hotels are really cheap right now. We're staying at like the hotel across from City Hall, and it's like $40 a night, and we get like a jacuzzi. And I'm thinking, wow, okay. I mean, they were having the time of their lives. And I remember they asked, they're like, oh, so what do you do? You've got a camera and everything. And I said like, oh, I'm out doing street photography. I'm a photographer. And they're like, oh, what's your Instagram? So I gave it to them. And the guy looked up at me, and he's like, quickly tell me, how many photos of the CN Tower do you have on your Instagram? And I don't know the answer to that, because I haven't shot really that in like years. So I just did this. And he's like, 0, really? I'm like, yeah, check it. Go on your phone. And he did. And he was like, oh, wow. And yeah, so and he's not a photographer at all. And he even knew that. I thought that was funny. That said, I did like 2 days ago post on my story a shot I took with the CN Tower visibly like in the background. And I have every intention of posting that shot to my feed. So I might be eating my words in a bit, but it wasn't the main focus of the shot, and I feel like it was unique enough. There were people in it, and the lighting was just so good. As a lot of you know, like I love shooting in Chinatown, and recently I've been kind of like trying to switch things up a tiny bit because I'm just slightly bored of the same spots. But anyway, I'm trying not to as much for a few reasons. One primarily being it forces me to come up with that like, oh, I've been doing this for so long, like, what now? That what now moment, like I'm kind of like forcing that onto me for locations or like streets or wherever. I'm trying to force myself to like push my creativity into directions that it wouldn't have naturally if I had just constantly gone to different spots and shot like whatever the first thing came to my mind was. If I'm going to the same spots, not only do I know them extremely well, and like I really do. Like somebody was asking me the other day, like, how do you know where like a poster is on a street corner on a lamppost facing a certain store? Like, how do you know that? I'm just like, I don't know. These things just they stay in my head. And, you know, if you're out walking by them, I don't know. I don't even want to count, but like, I don't know, let's say like 30 times a month, right? Because no, I don't go out every day in the month and do like, you know, photo walks for myself and street shooting. I have other things and other client work. But when I do go, I tend to like circle around and things. Lately, I've been posting the screenshots of my Google timeline on my maps to my Instagram. It hasn't been in my like public feed, public stories, just because I feel like it doesn't really match the kind of the theme of my content usually up there. But I'm going to start posting that, or at least in the FPV videos that I'm going to start doing, I'm going to kind of relay over some of that, like, you know, like the mileage of the walks and stuff, kilometers. But I mean, for my American viewers, mileage, I'll put both up. Yeah, like yesterday, Google said it was 14 kilometers. I don't know what the mileage of that is offhand. I'll add it here. I mean, it's a video podcast. Most of you guys are probably going to watch this or listen to this on Spotify. So, but yeah, if you're on YouTube, I'll put it here. Anyway, it's long to walk, let's just say. But yeah, I mean, if you walk by the same spot over and over and over again, you do get like that, like what if, you know, or like what now moment, and it can be healthy. I mean, it usually is, as I mentioned earlier, but it's also mildly frustrating. So just a word of caution. Yeah, anyway, so what I was getting at too before, talking about like, you know, shooting the same thing as everyone else, definitely like look at your work and look at the work that inspires you. And if the similarities are like uncanny to the point where you can't really tell the difference, then you might have to explore your what now options. But yeah, anyway, so back to what I was initially planning on making the podcast about. Now that things are open, I guess there's a lot more going on, and I'm talking to a lot more creatives and doing a lot more, you know, meetups and events and things. So there's going to be a lot more to talk about. So these like turn the camera on and chat kind of deals, like it'll happen a lot more, which is great. Great for the podcast and, you know, evidently for what I'm going to do for YouTube. So yeah, stay tuned for that. So the whole like auditory influences, right? I've been doing this for a while where I'll just have tunes on at a shoot. So I'll bring a speaker, you know, and if I'm shooting models that I'm coordinating with in advance, right? Usually I am. I'll just email them, you know, with all the proper forms and, you know, the meetup instructions and stuff, and say like, oh, by the way, right? Put together a playlist, or if you have one, like, just so you know, I'm going to have a Bluetooth speaker, and yeah, we'll play some music. And that really helps, like, kind of like loosen up the mood, and just everyone's in a lot better, more creative, like, of a mindset, you know? Because yeah, I find sometimes people get nervous, especially if it's, you know, they've never met you, or it's their first time, like, you know, at a certain studio or whatnot. So I find music like really helps to kind of calm the nerves. It can. I've talked to a couple photographers actually about this, and I said, like, when you edit, let's say you have a particular client and you have this like kind of mood you want to set with the client work that you have in mind. Like, I mean, even if I shoot street, just as a side note, sometimes I'll see a scene and I know exactly the edit I'm going to use on that scene and like the mood and everything. So all I need to focus on are the camera settings, and then whatever I can't do in camera, I know mentally, like, this is what I'm going to end up doing in post. And well, here's another side note on that side note. That's been a source of frustration for me recently, just because I've had to upgrade or replace, you know, monitors and a laptop, and I've recalibrated my screens, and they're new screens, and they're supposed to be like, 100% Adobe RGB or whatever. They're good. They're really good. but something wasn't calibrated quite right, at least maybe in the past on my setup. So when I plugged it into a more accurate monitor, my workflow was all kind of like turned upside down. Yeah, I mean, color calibrating of shots and edits is really something I'm like obsessive about. Like, just to give you an idea, this is my, daily phone, right, that I always use. It is an Android, but I also picked up one of these bad boys, right? An iPhone. Yeah, it's not the latest. This is the XS. It's a fantastic screen, by the way, but I did that because when people, most people view photos nowadays and videos on their mobile devices, or a majority of them do. I do, right? And every mobile device is calibrated differently on the screen. So like when I first got the Samsung, you make amazing displays, but like stop shipping these with like the vivid everything like crap like turned on to the max by default. Like I was like digging through the settings trying to find a way to turn that off or like calibrate it. I did find a way. It wasn't really talked about online, and the way that I did it wasn't necessarily like meant for like color calibrating in the like photo and video sense. So I'll do a video on like how to do that after. You'll notice though, this is just a quick thing. You'll notice on the bottom right, focus. No, okay. Oh yeah, down there. No, this side. You see that? That's there's a little man, stick figure. He's like, it's not a scarecrow. It's when you tap on it, the accessibility for I think it's for certain types of color blindness. Actually, is what it was meant for. But when you tap on it, your custom settings turn on. And in my case, my custom colorblind settings are actually my calibration preferences. Because I find when I turned it into natural mode, away from vivid, which was buried in the settings, so good job on that, Samsung. That was sarcasm. When I finally found the natural mode, it was like really warm. So it wasn't as vivid, and it was a lot, I would say, more accurate color. But overall, it was just like washed out red, like a really, really heavy warmth to it. And, it's nice if you're just, browsing images and stuff. But like, if you're editing and you're trying to make sure everyone sees exactly what you meant for them to see, like in the way that you meant them to see it, it's not good. What do they call it? On the new iOS, they changed the name of it. Same thing actually with Android. After a certain hour, you can have it set to kind of like turn down the blues so that it's, presumably better for your sleep patterns. That's great. And it kind of looked like that though. And first thing I do too is if I'm late night posting on Instagram, I'll turn that off to post just to make sure, when you get that preview before you hit the share button, that it looks the way you intended it to. And I highly recommend, you guys do that too. Maybe your editing workflow is a lot better than mine, so maybe you don't have to do all that, but I recommend it regardless. Anyway, back to what I was getting at about, hold on, I have to think back on that. All right. Kind of getting your what now moment. It's super important. And no, we already talked about that. No. Oh, okay. Sorry. Maybe I need another coffee. I mean, it's 4:00 in the afternoon, so there's a certain. Well, who am I kidding? I'll have coffee at night anyway before I go to bed sometimes. So I'm crazy. Anyway, auditory influences, right? Like, I find one of the most like therapeutic things for me, at least, is to throw on a pair of tunes and bring my camera and just go out street shooting. And just walk, and, sometimes I come up with ideas, for things outside of photography, business ideas. It's just like, I'm one of those people that gets like ideas in the shower. I think a lot of people are. There was some study somewhere that said like, yeah, that's a thing, and this is why. And I'm not a doctor or a scientist, so just take my word for it or look it up. But you can't shower for like an extended period of time. I mean, you can, but it doesn't make sense, and it's not good for the environment. So, instead of like a 4.5 hour shower, I work on something a little bit more productive. I shoot. And I just have time to think, and it's incredible. And I do have specific playlists for when I'm out shooting. I've got a late night playlist. I've got just like, I call one Photowalks, and it's like hundreds of songs long. That one, though, is more geared towards, so yesterday we were out walking, me and my buddy David. He's also a photographer. Check him out on Instagram, Blues Boy Productions. I just posted a series of portraits of him I took over the past few months. I'm working on actually a series of portraits I've been taking of creators and photographers and people who've just tagged along with me when I go on these, photo walks. And so stay tuned for that. That's going to be over on Instagram. But we were walking yesterday, and this guy, I mean, you see so many people on their bikes and running and stuff. Like, it's just, it's what you do, right? And this guy ran by us at like warp speed, right? So, I mean, good for him, right? I can't even run up a flight of stairs. It's weird. I'll walk for 6 hours with like, a bag full of camera gear, but somehow when it comes to running, anyway, I digress. Maybe it's because I would run when I'm out and about and I have all that camera gear. That goes where I go all the time. That's my mobile office, so that's non-negotiable. Anyway, the guy's running by, and David turns and looks at me. He's like, that guy definitely has like some killer beats playing. He's rocking some tunes. I'm like, yeah, probably. I mean, I know a lot of people do when they're running and out walking and stuff, but like sometimes you can see it. Like, you're in that stride. You just got it like locked down on point. Like you're just, nothing's stopping you. Maybe the pause button, but other than that, nothing's stopping you. And so my main playlist, it's got a lot of that mixed into it. Because, I would say probably after about the 2 hour mark, 2.5 hour, you start to get really tired. But like, depending on when I start. So if I start early in the day or in the afternoon, yesterday being Saturday when a lot of people are out, right? It's the weekend and the weather's nice. So a lot goes on. And so I went early, right? But my favorite time to shoot is in the evening and at night. So the motivation of like my favorite time of shooting is like enough to help me like stick it out. I also really like high noon, 1 o'clock, when you get the harsh shadows. That didn't really happen yesterday. It actually started to rain a bit, so that's kind of cool. I like that as well. But the rain lasted for like 10 minutes, so it was weird. Anyway, I digress. So my playlist, right? Like my big one though, and I put this together to coincide with the release of this episode, is a playlist titled My Biggest Auditory Influences, or I think I use track or whatever, on my biggest influences, musically at least. And so if you guys are curious, check that out. I really want to know though, like, looking at my shots and then listening to that playlist, like, do you guys like feel a connection with it or no? I know some photographers I've talked to before about this, they've said like, no, I don't throw on tunes or whatever. That breaks my concentration. And others I've talked to said, yeah, like that totally, like, I'll throw on a specific playlist to get in the mood for like this kind of edit even. I do it. It's funny. I should probably try an experiment where like I'm not like a classical music jazz guy, but like I've listened to some of it before, like to study and stuff like that. I wonder like what my edits would look like or what my productivity would be if I just started playing playlists like that and edited. I should try that sometime, but I'll probably revert back to what what I prefer. Actually, another really cool thing, and it's kind of unfortunate nowadays just because with the removal of the headphone jack on all the phones, what I tend to do is, because like I love these headphones, by the way. The Audio-Technica M50Xs. I have the Bluetooth version now, just out of necessity, right? Like with the new phones. But I like having like one pair of headphones that I can switch between my phone and this. Yeah. I'm an iPod guy still in 2021. This one actually, I'm in the process of replacing the battery, so it is open, and you can see like what I've done to it. What has he done to it? Focus. Come on, Canon. There you go. No. Come on there, bud. Oh yeah, eh? Anyone from Toronto will think that's funny, I hope. I've caught myself. Well, other people have called me out of saying that sometimes, unironically. Anyway, so the iPod, yeah, I've SD carded them out, right? So they're pretty fast and the battery lasts a while and they're a lot more reliable and lighter. Yeah, because like this happened to me like a week ago. I was on Spotify and I was like, oh, I really want to listen to this track, and I look it up and it's not there, and I'm thinking like, did I remember the name of the track wrong or what? And I looked it up and yeah, it's just not available. And then a day or two later, there was an artist I was listening to. They're actually from Canada, from back in the day, Swollen Members. Shout out to anyone who knows their stuff. They're pretty cool musicians. Anyway, yeah, I was trying to find some of their stuff, and I found a couple tracks that I wanted to, and then like a day or two after that, I go back onto my Spotify and I go under like songs, and I just have it set up where the recently liked stuff is at the top. I think that's the default. So, and you guys probably know what I'm talking about if you use Spotify. Of course you do. You're listening to me on Spotify. Anyway, yeah, and it wasn't there. It was grayed out, and I thought, oh, fantastic, right? Like, great. Again, sarcasm. Anyway, on my iPod, I didn't have that problem, and because I've been trying to like, okay, so people tend to make fun of me because I bring a lot of gear, right? Like on my desk right now, I've got like lenses everywhere, and it's a mess. Like this, like it's not even a prop in the background on my camera or on my desk. Like it's just there because I have it on my desk, and it's a Canon A1 program. Great camera, by the way, if you're into 35mm film, but it doesn't work. See you can probably see me through that, maybe. No, anyway. the shutter's stuck like halfway, and yeah, there you go. It's not good. I picked this up on eBay for cheap. It was in a lot. I was actually interested in the lens that it came with. I think it was an f1.450. And yeah, I mean, anyone who knows me knows I love primes. Fast primes are the best. Probably because of the stuff I shoot, right? Low light. But anyway, this was just sitting there because I think I was looking at it the other day trying to figure out like how to fix it maybe. But so yeah, I tend to bring everything I need to, but like everything I would also possibly need to use in any situation when I'm out, because like that's my mobile office is my backpack. Yeah, sometimes that means like 4 cameras or whatever. Not 4 mirrorless cameras. I wish I had that kind of space and budget, but no. There'll be like the RP, maybe a GR3 from Ricoh. Those are great, by the way. I'm probably going to do a YouTube video and like talking about like just that one camera alone. Like it's fantastic. And then, yeah, I'll have a GoPro or 2. All right. So anyway, I'm getting into all this stuff, and somebody was joking around the other day, and they're like, "Oh, you look like Andreas with like all those lenses." And ironically, like I only had 2 lenses on me that night. It was the night of the Photowalk. I had no, not this one. This one is a 35 RF. Right. I had the 50 with the RP, and then I had my R, which you're watching me on here now. I had that with what lens? Oh, right, my 85 1.2. There it is. This thing has been through the ringer, but it works, and it's sharp as a tack. But like great lens. I know, like, you can see like the coating on it is kind of going. I'm so glad they stopped putting this weird rubbery coating on their lenses. Like, don't do that. If you're a manufacturer and you're listening, don't, because we like to keep really good glass for a long time, hopefully, and we don't want that happening. Anyway, so I've been trying to kind of like keep things really minimal in terms of like my standard. So 1 pair of headphones, 1 phone, right? Yeah, I know I have 2, but I'm weird like that. Not 1 camera, because I don't know. I like to do it where I'll have 1 lens per each camera, and that's it, right? I'll have a wider lens on 1 camera, and then the other will probably always have this one on it. My trusty 70-200. This is great. Like, again, I could do a whole video on that. Canon, if you're listening, please make this in a different color, in black. I don't like it being all flashy. In fact, I tape over like the logo and everything just because of, you know, what I photograph on a regular basis. I don't want to stand out like that. In fact, I managed to do it pretty well on this one. Maybe that's because I don't use it as much. Here's my 24-70 RF 2.8. Great lens also. Notice though, I was able to put gaff tape over, you guys can't see, over the famous red ring. I know some people like, there's those memes where people are like using Sharpies to like add a red ring on their cameras. I do the opposite. But yeah, it's important for at least street photographers, I would say. Another reason why I like the GR3 so much. It's just literally a rectangular black like thing. There's barely any markings on it. It's fantastic. I love it. Anyway, so I digress. Music, right? Like I don't know, like it means a lot to me, and I've shot for friends that have gone out and, you know, performed and released tracks and albums and things, and that's one way of incorporating like music into photography and filmmaking. But I don't know, I feel like it's a lot more of a personal connection for me, so much so that like when I'm doing stills, that's what I'm driven by. Sometimes, most of the time. But yeah, let me know, right? Because like I said, I've talked to a lot of photographers, and it's been like almost a 50-50 split. So if you're interested in the playlist, I mean, this is Spotify, so you'll probably be able to connect to it from this. This is also going up on YouTube, where I will put it in the description below, a link to it. And yeah, follow me on Spotify if you want. You can creep what I'm listening to. Disclosure, the genres are all over the place, just because I guess I love music that much. Sometimes like I'll be able to hear something and just like automatically connect to it. Shout out to anyone who knows Danger Mouse, you know, the producer. If I had to sum up my musical like influence and like preferences over the last like decade and a half, maybe even 2 decades, it would just be like 2 words: Danger Mouse. He's done incredible work, and he's a freaking genius, I think. And one of my favorite albums of all time, A$AP Rocky, Long Live A$AP. That was produced by him. Or sorry, at Long Last A$AP. My bad. You know, the one with, LSD and that song with Rod Stewart, and just the whole freaking album, man. Like, I find it very rare nowadays where I'll throw on a record, or, I also collect vinyl. So I've got like some back here, actually, right here. So, yeah, I know. They always say, like, stick to one niche on the internet and podcasts and stuff, and just run with it. And, obviously, I'm typecast as a photographer because I am a photographer, but I don't want to be typecast as a specific type of photographer, which is street photography. I do other work as well. Anyway, this is probably getting really long. Thankfully, I found a way to record at length with the R, because Canon doesn't let you do it more than half an hour. I don't know why. Anyway, thank you, though, Canon, for letting me use it as a webcam, because now OBS can sync with this, and it's just makes life so much easier. I'm going on a bit of a rant now, but yeah, Auditory Influences music. Hit me up in the DMs on Instagram if you think I left something out in this. But until then, keep creating and enjoy it. I think it's the first day of summer now. I know yesterday they said it was the last day of spring, and sometimes there's these weird nuances where it's like it's the last full day, so it's like halfway between like right now and like 10 p.m. or something. Today it's summer. So whatever it is, I'm going to call today the first day of summer. Sue me, okay? Enjoy summer, all right? Stay safe, everyone, and yeah. Peace out.